Have you ever seen him when he was performing?
Okay.
Sorry.
Guys, no, don't worry.
So we're talking about Freddie Mercury.
Yeah. That's the icebreaker right now.
Yeah.
Great jacket.
Yeah, that's a great jacket.
No, I'm like jealous. I would rock that.
You saw Freddie Mercury on stage.
Yeah.
You want to do it one more time?
Go on.
Okay. Hey-oh!
Hey-oh!
Hey! Welcome to Mexico, first of all.
Thank
a
you.
city that I believe is just as surreal as Middle Earth, but with more cars and traffic. I wanted to go quick with the first question. Like, I want to know your favorite part of filming this second season. Like, the thing you enjoy the most of this shooting, even if it's a scene you filmed or just like something that happened that we often don't see on set, on the series.
I think my happiest and my most excited is we don't really quite know what our characters are doing. We don't get all the scripts in one go. So like getting a script was such an exciting feeling, and you're just sort of flicking and you're learning about the world. And as a fan myself of the show, I just got such a thrill from reading and finding out what my character's doing and where he's going. And because I'm so invested in it that was, I think, my highlight.
It's
just getting the script.
It's very exciting getting those.
But except it's not a script. It's an updated iPad.
Yes, all our scripts are on an iPad, which is highly sensitive and secretive.
It explodes if you leave the vicinity of your house.
And so you have to have all kinds of codes to get into it. And anyway, I think for me, knowing that Charlie Vickers and myself were going into season 2 to tell our story was, for me, the most exciting thing.
Throughout the years, we have had great productions that started tiny, like, I don't know, Star Wars, Back to the Future, in TV shows, I don't know, Breaking Bad, The Lord of the Rings, and they became huge in budget and in fandom. And Rings of Power started huge already, right? Because of its production and also because it comes from a great fandom. So what I wanted to ask you is, what impact do you think it will have on your career? And also, how is it to walk on set every day on these big sets that they have prepared?
I don't necessarily think about it from a place of career, because it feels like my first responsibility is to the story. And, because it's Lord of the Rings, because people are familiar with this world, you have the task of sort of reintroducing a story that people know well, but in a new way. And you also have the responsibility of introducing, because there are plenty of people who have never read the books, they've never seen the films, and this is new for some people. So my first responsibility is to the story and character and authenticity. And so I have to almost sort of think outside of myself. I never am taking the view of the size of it and the career. And, I think that's for other people to kind of observe and think on. But when I am on a set, even if it is big and sweeping and fantastic, I am focused on the actors around me, and we are all, along with all of the other creatives, the writers, the production designers, everybody else, in service to the story. And this is a big story, and it's a big canvas that we get to play on. So it's, I feel very honored to get to be part of something like this. In your career, you hope to have a variety of experiences, and I've been very lucky to sort of go from project to project and go from, something contemporary to fantasy to sword and sandal, or, whatever it is. And so right now I'm just sort of on the ride and enjoying the experience, because this still feels like I'm in the beginning of this journey, and I am excited to see where it takes me. So,
It's a good question. I think, if you can start big, why not start big? Particularly with Tolkien. It's like, I just feel that this is exactly the right point in history, the history of motion pictures, television and film. Like, you take on the Second Age, you try to encompass Tolkien's extraordinary imagination. So you need to give it the love and support, as it were, to bring that to life, because it's boundless. and endless what can be made. And I think what Amazon have done brilliantly is put together this extraordinary team of creative talent in every single department. I mean, we've been blown away just from the initial, you do other jobs before you come to this one. You have a costume fitting, you maybe have 2, but in this case we had 10 costume fittings, discussions with the costume designer, and then the extraordinary fabrics that we created, all of those things. We got horse training 3 days a week for 3 months to prepare us for those shots of us, in my case with Elendil through the forest on horseback. And just those moments, that training makes that moment real, believable, and fully in the story, and inspiring to watch, and grand and cinematic. And so to that extent, if you can start big, start big. So that's what we've done, and I think season 2 is going to be even bigger, actually.
It definitely is.
And it's definitely from a script perspective. We've seen about 3 episodes, so we know what's coming, but we don't know fully what's coming because we haven't seen it all.
It looks big. I mean, from the trailer and from the 2 episodes that we have already been able to watch, it looks really big.
I mean, every day is just a real gift as an actor to be able to perform in something that I've all grown up adoring. And I think how it impacts you, you'll never really understand. But I think I just like to work, and every day I just wake up and I'm blessed, and sitting in a makeup chair, an hour and a half long, getting covered in mud.
That's what you dreamt of when you were little, wasn't it?
I didn't quite dream of the mud, but I'll take the mud because it's such a gorgeous show.
Yeah, it's a very, very special thing to be part of. That's
unique.
Undeniable.
And unique.
Yeah, and I love the whole ethos behind it, the use of the second age, the use of the appendices, the little bits, the little sentences, and Tolkien kind of made little notes in the margin of things of what he'd already written, but those are seized upon and made to grow. And it's just it's a very thrilling ride.
And talking about your characters, on the end of season 1, we see your characters in different positions. Queen Muriel was at first hesitant, but now she's sure that she wants to go back to Middle Earth to fight Sauron along with the elves. And in the case of Elendil, he regrets pulling up Galadriel aboard, and because of that, he loses his son. So what I wanted to ask you is, these positions of your characters, how will they affect their decisions throughout the second season?
I mean, I don't feel, even though, Miriel does declare Numenor will return, I don't think she's necessarily in a fully certain place, especially once she, arrives back to Numenor, because, she even sort of declares that before she learns that her father, the king, has passed. So she's returning to a changed Numenor, and she in turn is going to also have to change. Her circumstances have changed, and quite quickly. So, end of season 1, there are all these losses that she's experienced, and that's right where we pick up with both of them really in season 2. And in addition to sort of, the external losses, I think, one thing that I think about a lot with the dynamic between Miriel and Elendil is really like a shared grief. And that is the way in which they're returning. They've had this experience that only the 2 of them really understand. So now they have to arrive, back to Numenor, and Numenorians are angry. The fracture that we see in the beginning of season 1 is deepening in season 2. So really, I mean, these characters are going to be going through it this season. So in terms of any certainty, I don't know that that's how I would describe Miriel, as we sort of revisit her at the beginning of season 2.
I think you've identified very well the difficulty for Elendil, the man as opposed to the soldier, as opposed to the man who has a sense of duty, because there is regret for that decision. I mean, they say that there's a beautiful scene at the end of season 1 in episode 8 where then they're on the boat together, and he says, "I didn't realize the cost would be quite so great." And that is again, it's Tolkienian theme of this idea of fate, about knowing that you have to travel a certain path. But then I think what the writers, JD and Patrick, had done so well for this character is show how difficult those choices are. And I think in season 2 that becomes even harder for him, because on arriving back, his daughter is blaming the queen for making the decision to go to war, for losing Isildur, but at the same time, she is angry with the fact that he's closed down and is unable to grieve because it's all just too much. There's so much going on for him, but he's going to be forced to make those moral choices and be on, he has an idea of what he thinks Numenor should be, and that's related to his faith. And as Cynthia's described, there's this schism in society, there's this fracture, and more of the progressive nationalist side of the argument is taking more strength and more hold. And you have to fight for what you believe in. But love of country for him is in conflict with love of daughter. And so he has to make some really, really difficult decisions where his absolute faith will be tested, and he'll have to perhaps put his life on the line for that.
And well, Charles, talking about the rings, I mean, you are kind of the Lord of the Rings because you helped Sauron create them. And you, in the behind the scenes, we see that you can actually make one of the rings.
Yes.
Please tell us about that process and how it helped you connect with your character.
It helped me enormously, and I was very happy to meet this jeweler who came to help me. And what I loved about it was that her work showed me what an intricate kind of forensic detailed job it is. You're not just standing by a forge with a huge hammer whacking a bit of metal. You're being very, very, you're making jewelry.
Of course.
And to me that was a huge insight into the nature of him.
Of course.
And the way he would be, and it informed my playing very, very much so. And at the end of it, I actually made a ring, so I was very, very happy with that.
And Max, in your case, we see you on some of the featurettes that are already on social media, fighting against spiders and fighting against like a giant warm mud monster alongside Arondir. So please tell us about the experience of shooting those sequences and what can fans expect about the middle creatures on the second season.
I think there's so many creatures in the second season, and that is what was so joyous to play. It was the action, and my character becomes a bit of a warrior in season 2. He's no longer a boy. He has to become a man. And I mean, fighting a spider in the first time you see him on screen is a great introduction to it. And it's just anxiety inducing, and I think it will keep fans on the edge of their seat. And yeah, it's interspersed. The action in the second season is also interspersed with great sort of psychological dramas between characters. So I think there's something for everyone in the second season.
And sorry to interrupt, there's been more time as well for each character to breathe and spread. So the psychology of characters is much more to the fore this time around.
Talking about the rings and the creatures, is there a ring that could help Isildur fight?
I'm sure there is. I'm sure I can.
Can you make one for me, please?
This afternoon, if you want.
Yeah, I've been sat with you all day.
Yeah, I'll see what I can do.
Thanks.
And guys, you are both connected to Sauron in some way. Like, you help him create the rings, and you will eventually be the one who takes the one ring out of him, right?
Yeah.
Is that the meaning that there's a connection between you, and what would your characters share in order to defeat this enemy?
We've come across this a lot. As we've been sitting here talking for the last 2 days, there are quite a lot of similarities, mainly the Sauron element, but also temptation.
And their drive, they're both quite ambitious and driven in the ways in which they do things.
Yeah. But
temptation is such an interesting one.
It's a key, and it's a very Tolkien thing, temptation, and how you manage that and overcome it or not.
They're both quite fallible human beings.
They are, highly. Yeah.
Okay. And for my last question, I would like to know, your characters on first season are driven by something. Celebrimbor is driven by the will of creating something special that will be his legacy, and Isildur is driven by the call he hears from Middle-earth. So those calls, let's say, how do they affect your characters on this second season?
They become his downfall.
Okay,
that's my answer.
And I think it's sort of mixed feelings for Isildur, and he has to actually, instead of being driven by something exterior, he has to look inwards and find out and heal himself and realize what he truly wants from life. And the big question and that he will have to decide is his love for home greater than his love for Middle-earth and the people in it.
Thanks a lot. And to finish just this interview, I would like you to join me in saying, "Hey-o."
Hey-o.
Great.
That was, can we do better than that?
Yeah, you went to Wembley. I expected a little bit more.
You saw Freddie Mercury on stage.
Yeah. I thought we did all right.
I'm gonna do it one more time.
You want to do it one more time?
Go on.
Okay. Hey-oh!
Hey-oh!
Hey! Thank you very much, guys.
Can we have a photo?
Please. Thank you very much, guys, and see you in the next one.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.